Hi guys, Al Smith here. Today we're going to talk about preempts. Okay, preempts are designed to obstruct the opponent's bidding. What is a preempt? Well, a preempt is when you open at the 2, 3, 4, or even 5 level, and you do not have enough points for an opening bid. You're generally going to have a long suit. Okay, when you preempt, look at it as a sacrifice. You really don't expect to make the bid, although many times you will. The goal is and even if you do get set, you still expect to get a better score than if you let the opponents bid freely and find a contract where they got a makeable contract. So even if you get set 1 or 2, most of the time you're still going to get a better score than if you let the opponents make a contract at the 2, 3, or 4 level. Okay, now one of the really important things about preempts, remember, it's an obstructive bid. It's designed to obstruct the opponents. You do not want to obstruct yourself or your opponents. So you don't want to you obstruct yourself if you preempt when you have too strong of a hand. So you do not want to preempt if your hand is too strong. Remember, a preempt is supposed to be a weak bid. And you don't want to obstruct your partner. There are certain cases where you have potential. Your hand has potential if your partner makes the appropriate bid. And you do not want to preempt in those situations. We'll talk about that more later. And now, preempts also, the requirements to preempt differ based upon what seat you're in and have a different value based upon the seat. Okay, the very best seat to preempt in is the first seat. And the reason for this is you're preempting 2 opponents in 1 partner. So you get a twofer. I mean, it's much better to be obstructing both of the opponents and only your partner than in other situations. In the third seat is the second best place to preempt because you're preempting 1 opponent, and no, you're not obstructing your partner at all because your partner is already passed. Now think about that for a second. If you're considering preempting in third seat, you're going to have less than opening, and your partner's already passed. So it means that the opponents have the majority of the points and very possibly have enough points for game or even slam. So that becomes a really nice place to preempt the third seat. Second seat is actually the least desirable place to preempt because you're preempting only 1 opponent and you're preempting your partner. This is why we have certain hands where we don't want to preempt because they offer a potential to fit with our partner or sufficient points to help our partner. So we want to be really careful. So when you think about preempts, think about first seat being the best place, third seat being the second best seat, and the second seat being the worst seat. Now, there are preempts in the 4th seat, but this only uses the weak 2, not anything above the 2 level. And it's used tactically to keep the opponents from competing after they have passed. So if you're sitting in 4th seat, you have a hand where you know you don't have enough points between you and your partner per game, but you know you've got enough points for a partial and a long enough suit. What you can do is you can bid a weak 2 in the 4th seat to keep the opponents from entering the auction. All right. So we'll review the preempts as it relates to each of these seats later in this particular lesson. It's now one of the most important things about preempts too, and it's a very complex topic with lots of different dimensions. So the most important things when you're learning about preempts, the first thing to do is to define the expectations with your partner in respect to the partnership agreement. Okay, there's 3 major factors or characteristics that need to be defined. in terms of what your partner can expect from your preempt and what you can expect from your partner's preempt. You need to have an agreement here. So the first one is the strength of the hand. All right? You want to preempt at the maximum level possible. So it's important that when you preempt, you're communicating the information to your partner about your hand in terms of the maximum level it was safe for you to bid at, so they can determine how many tricks they need to support you if they want to bid after you preempt. Okay, so what we use here is 2, 3, 4. What this does allow you to define to your partner what is the maximum level safe for you to bid at, giving the vulnerability. So the use of 2, 3, 4 and is really a very important characteristic, okay, or factor. Okay, a lot of people don't use a trick-taking potential. They just use the number of cards. This can lead to some very, very bad results. The second is the quality of suit. Okay, when most people, when they're taught about preempts to begin with, they're taught a very conservative approach and say, hey, you need to have 2 of the top 3 honors in the suit you're going to preempt in. Okay, that's fine as long as that's what your agreement is with your partner. Now, being that conservative, though, restricts the number of times that you're allowed to preempt. Okay, and it kind of reduces the value of the preemptive bid. Now, what I call the normal situation is you're going to have 2 of the top 5 honors with probably 4+ high card points. So you can have an ace and 10. That gives you a reasonable suit quality. You can have a king, queen. You can have a king, jack. Those are all reasonable suit quality, and that's what I recommend. Is that you use 2 of the top 5 with 4+ high card points. So you wouldn't want to use the queen jack as good enough to preempt. It leaves too many holes to the upper end of the suit. Okay, so this is what I recommend. Now, aggressive, which is being used by a lot of the advanced players now, is that they require only 1 of the top 5 honors, and generally with 2+ high card points. Some of them even go even more aggressive. I've seen people preempting the 5-card suit with the top card being the 8. All right, so remember, the goal of a preempt is to get in the opponent's face. So hyper aggressive preempts are being used by some people to really disrupt the bidding, which is perfectly fine. Okay? That's kind of a double-edged sword. I've seen situations where people do that. They get doubled, they get set 5 tricks, they go down 1,100 points. It means the match. Okay, but so what I recommend is you kind of use this normal middle of the road type of approach until you become a more advanced player, can actually know how to deal with and incorporate into your bidding system a more aggressive strategy. So that's with respect to quality of suit. Now, suit length. Suit length is also something that's changing quite a bit. Now, for week 2, normal 6+ cards is the recommended situation. Now, the aggressive this is for advanced players. It uses 5+ cards instead of 6. All right, and there are different things that have to change about your bidding system if you're going to make week 2s with a 5+ card suit. Now, if you're going to bid at the 3 level, you should always have a 6+ card suit. At the 4 level, I recommend 7+ card suit. Although there are some situations where you've got a really nice 6+ card suit, that preempting the 4 level is the right thing to do. So these are general characteristics, and you need to talk these over with your partner, and you need to agree on what parameters that you're going to be using for now. Okay, you can always change them later, but make sure you have an agreement. All right, now the 2, 3, 4 system is designed to allow you to determine what level is safe for you to bid at or to force your partner to bid at. Since we're talking about preempts, we're talking about the level it's safe for you to bid at based upon the vulnerability. I'm not going to go through the details. Using this in all the other lessons. If you need to be a refresher, go back to the lesson on 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's talk about preempts in the first and second seat. Okay, the first and second seat, we treat them the same in terms of how they're used. Now, the most important thing to understand about when you're considering to make a preempt in the first and second seat is that your partner has not yet bid. The strength of your partner's hand is unknown. Okay, that's really, really important to recognize. In first and second seat, the strength of your partner's hand is unknown. They have not passed. The partner might have enough points for game or even slam, opposite of preempt. So now let's look at those situations where you should not be preempting in first or second seat. Okay, if you could open using the rule of 22, you should not preempt. You would be preempting yourself. Okay, you going to want to open one at the 1 button. Okay, do not preempt if you can meet the rule of 22. You be preempting yourself. Okay, if your second longest suit has 4+ cards, for example, you've got 6 hearts and 4 spades, you do not want to preempt. Why? Because you'd be preempting your partner. Okay, you want to give your partner the opportunity to tell you if they can open, let's say, 1 heart or 1 spade. If they open 1 spade, you know that you've got a 9-card fit. If, for example, you pass, the opponent opens 1 diamond and your partner bids 1 spade, you again have a 9-card fit. So you don't want to preempt your partner if you have a second suit with 4 cards in it. Okay. Also, you don't want to preempt if you have a major suit with three cards in that suit with 8 to 11 high card points. You go, well, why not? Well, let's assume that you don't preempt, you go pass, it goes past. Your partner now opens 1 heart or 1 spades, and you have a 3-card fit. You do not want to obstruct your partner from showing that they have that 4 or 5-card major. That way you'll be able to find a fit, the major suit fit. So don't preempt the minor suit if you have a 3-card major with 8 to 11 high card points. That way you'll get that you'll keep the door open to finding a major suit fit. Now, if your 2, 3, 4 result is greater than 2, you do not want to preempt at the 2 level. Okay, you want to be able to you actually you have three types of hands, especially in first and second seat. You have ones that are strong enough to open, and then you have hands that are weak enough to preempt, and then you got these hands in the middle that aren't strong enough to open, and they're too strong to preempt. So if you do the 2, 3, 4 evaluation and considering bidding the weak 2, and the answer comes out to 3 or 4, do not preempt. Pass. Be able to bid in the next round, showing your partner that you have that middle hand. All right, let's talk a little bit about the weak 2. Okay, we only have the ability to bid weak 2s at 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 spades. Okay, now many people use different conventions in association with opening 2 diamonds because it really doesn't have a very good obstructive values. For example, Flannery is one of the conventions that you use with the 2 diamond open. Okay, so the only bids available for a weak 2 are 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 spades. If 2 diamonds is not being used conventionally, remember 2 clubs is being used to show a strong hand, a strong balanced hand of 22+ points, or a strong unbalanced hand. So generally, the preempt is bid with 5 to a bad 12. And really we could express this as 5 to 11. Okay, but you can always shade things 1 point in either direction. So it just doesn't have enough points to open. Now, beauty is in the eye of the in the beholder, because you can have somebody might say, well, why did you preempt with 12 points? Well, because I thought it was an ugly 12. Okay, that's what I mean by beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, now you want to preempt the 6+ card suit where the 2, 3, 4 result is equal to 2. Remember, this is really important. If it's less than 2, you're not strong enough. Equals to 3, and you've got a 6-card suit. Don't open at weak 2, preempt at the 3 level. You want to maximize the level you preempt to maximize its obstructive value. Okay, if it's less than 2, you're too weak to preempt. Okay, if it's 2 greater than 3, you're too strong to preempt with a 6+ card suit. So it's not as straightforward as saying, hey, I've got 6 cards and I've got this many points. It depends on the vulnerability, the shape of your hand. Evaluate the different conditions to determine, one, if you should preempt, then what level should preempt, or should you pass? Okay, so it takes a little bit of work. All right, 3+ level preempt, it's based upon the 2, 3, 4 result. And I want to emphasize, not the number of cards. Okay, what's really important in terms of the preemptive hand is its trick-taking potential in terms of the number of tricks that are potential winners and those that are losers. So we'll take a look at this in terms of a couple of examples. Now, one thing to note that if the suit that you're going to preempt is in spades, you can sometimes hedge your bets. For example, if let's say that your hand on 2, 3, 4 result says you're strong enough to preempt 4 spades. Okay, 4 is pretty. That's a high level. Now you might consider bidding 3 spades. Okay, you might be able to buy the contract, so you can hedge your bets a little bit there. But if you bid 3 spades, remember if the opponent's got a really good hand, they can bid 4 clubs, 4 diamonds, or 4 hearts, where you could have obstructed them from bidding that by bidding 4 spades. So, this is judgment. Your bridge judgment will tell you when you might want to do that, when you might not. Okay, and it kind of depends on where you are in the match. All right, let's look at this first example. Okay, in this one, we're not vulnerable versus not vulnerable. Okay, and let's look at our hand. We've got 6 hearts. We're in the first seat here, and we've got 4 clubs. All right, so now we do have a second suit here of 6-4. We might be able to find a club fit. So let's look at 2, 3, 4. Okay, we've got 7 minus 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losers. Our B factor is 3, so we can open all the way to the 4 level. Okay, so can we open this with the rule of 22? Well, let's see. We've got 2 quick tricks. We've got 1.5 plus a half. That's 2. So we take care of that. We've got 4, 7, 9, 10, and we've got 10 plus 10 is 20. So we do satisfy the rule of 22. Okay, so we're strong enough to open. So we're going to open 1 heart. We do not want to preempt this hand by bidding a weak 2. There's 2 factors here. One, we meet the rule of 22, and also based upon the 2, 3, 4 result, we're much too strong to bid weak 2. The 2, 3, 4 result, the bid a weak 2 should be equal to 2. Okay, so we're too strong. We don't want to preempt ourselves. Let's take a look at this hand. All right, now the 2, 3, 4 result, we've got when vulnerable versus not vulnerable. B factor here is 2. You say, well, we're vulnerable. That's more dangerous. Well, let's take a look at this. We've got how many losers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losers. So put the 2, 3, calculate the 2, 3, 4 result, and we get 2. It says, hey, we're strong enough to safely bid to the 2 level. Can we meet the rule of 22? No, we don't even come close. We have 1.5. Well, we have 1.5. Only 1.5 quick tricks, so we don't meet the quick trick requirement. And from the other aspect, we've got 6, 7. We've got only come up to 17 in terms of adding our high card points with our 2 long suits. So we are strong enough. Our 2, 3, 4 value equals 2. And we have the right shape. We've got a 6-card suit. So what we're going to do is bid 2 hearts. This is a weak 2. Now, what this does, it takes away the opponent's bidding at the 1 level. So in order for the opponent, our left-hand opponent, to bid spades, they're going to have to bid at the 2 level. And to do that, they're going to need to have a little bit stronger hand. So we take away quite a bit of their bidding room. And if they want to bid a minor, they have to bid at the 3 level. So that's why it's obstructive. Let's look at the third example here. Now it's vulnerable versus vulnerable, and the V factor is going to be equal to 3. So let's count our 2, 3, 4. Now we do have our 2, 3, 4. It says we can bid at the 3 level. We've got 6 of them. Should we bid 3 clubs? Well, let's look at this hand for a second. We've got 10 high card points. We do have 6 clubs. Okay, does it meet the rule of 22? No. So should we preempt? Well, we have another consideration. We've got 10 points here, and we've got 3 hearts and 3 spades. What if our partner in third seat can open 1 heart for 1 spade? Then we'd have a golden tip for major. We don't want to preempt our partner in the situation. So we've got 3 cards in a major plus in the range of 8 to 10 high card points. We don't want to preempt. What we're going to do is pass. And we're going to hide in the weeds and hope our partner bids 1, gets to open 1 heart and 1 spade. Then we can look and explore the possibility of gain, because not only would we have a golden tip, but our point count would go up to 13 because we have a singleton in diamonds. This would probably allow us to get the game. Okay, let's look at example number 4. This is, we've got 10, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, we've got 9 spades. Okay, so most people, when they look at this hand, would immediately just go ahead and bid 4 spades because they've got 9 spades. Well, let's see what we've got from the standpoint of 2, 3, 4. We're not vulnerable. It's not vulnerable. It says we can actually bid to the 5 level. It would be safe to push this to the 5 level. Okay, now, does it meet the rule of 22? Nope. It's close. We've got 4, 6, 7, but we only got 1 half quick tricks. This would get us only up to 16. Okay, now we do have 9 spades. So what are we going to do? Are we going to preempt the maximum level here of 5? No, we're going to preempt the 4 spade level. We can hedge our bets. The probability that if we open 4 spades, the opponent is going to unilaterally be able to bid at the 5 level is extremely low. So we don't want to preempt in most cases beyond the 4 level in a major suit. That's not necessarily true of a minor suit, because if this is a minor suit, if the spades were clubs, I would preempt at 5 clubs. I would not preempt at 4 because the opponents can enter the auction with 4 spades. Remember, the goal of the preempt is not to make the contract, but to obstruct the opponents. Okay, let's look at this example here. We've got it basically the same example, not quite as good. Okay, and we're vulnerable. We've got unfavorable vulnerability. So let's count our losers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it says it's only safe to bid to the 3 level. Okay, if we were using number of cards, we would just blindly go ahead and bid 4 hearts, maybe in 5 hearts. Okay, we would get ourselves into a tremendous amount of trouble because we're vulnerable. Okay, we want to use the 2, 3, 4 result. Okay, what we're going to do here is, it doesn't meet the rule of 22. We're going to bid 3 hearts, 2, 3, 4 safe level, given our vulnerability, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losers. Okay, if we went and bid 4 hearts and we were down 3 double, that's going to be 800 points. If we're down 2, it's 500 points. The maximum the opponents can get, not vulnerable, if bid 4 spades is 420. Bidding 4 hearts exposes us to too much risk. So we're going to open this hand, preempt after 3 level. Okay, in this one, we've got equal vulnerability, so the V factor is equal to 3. Now, we have, again, we've got from a 2, 3, 4 standpoint, it says we can go to the 3 level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 losers, equal vulnerability. We can safely bid to the 3 level. Can we meet the rule of 22? No. We do have 2.5 quick tricks, but when we add this together, we've got 10 plus, we only get to 19. All right, so it's right on the edge, and the closer you have the edge, the more you should consider not preempting. Now, again, we have 3 hearts and 3 spades. Okay, we don't want to preempt because we would be obstructing our partner. We're going to pass, and we're going to look rather hard at spades. Okay, what happens after you preempt? What's your partner going to do? Well, the partner really has only 2 choices. One is to push the preempt and further obstruct the opponents, or, and I'll discuss in a minute, you can bid something else. Now, when should you further push the preempt? Well, the weaker you are, the more you should push. You can say, well, I don't have any points at all. Okay, well, that's when you should be pushing the preempt, because that means the opponents have an even stronger hand. The stronger their hand, the more you want to obstruct them and push the preempt. So the weaker you are, the more you should push. And the weaker you are, the higher you should push. There have been situations when my partners opened 2 spades and I've jumped to 5 spades. Why? Because we're extremely weak. Okay, and generally it'll occur in things like hearts. So 2 hearts, you might go to 5 hearts because it obstructs the opponents from finding the spade. Okay, so the weaker you are, the higher, the more you want to push, and the higher you want to push. You know, it's best to do this when you're not vulnerable and the opponents are vulnerable. Because, you know, just as an example, let's say if the opponents have slam, a vulnerable slam in hearts, that's 1,430 points, and you're not vulnerable. How many can you go down and still get a better score? Well, there's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 1, 3, 5, 8, 11, 14. You can go down 6 tricks and still get a better score because it's a minus 1,400 versus a minus 1,430. So, you know, even, you know, preempts can be very valuable in getting to the best score. All right. Let's say that you're sitting there and your partner has preempt in first or second seat, and you've got a good hand. All right, now, should you look for the potential of going to game or even slam? Well, the important thing is tricks and not points. All right, but what I mean by that, you need your partner, if you can reverse the 2, 3, 4, 1, 1 to determine the number of tricks that you're going to need for game. Okay, so it's the tricks needed per game is equal to game level. Okay, and let's say minus the preempt level plus the V factor. So if they bid, example, your partner opened 3 hearts and it's vulnerable against vulnerable, we take 4, which is the minus 3, okay, plus 3 is equal. You need to be able to deliver 4 tricks in order to get to game. So your partner is in essence promised you 6 tricks in the situation. So you need to be able to deliver for tricks. Now, tricks are based upon winners, aces and kings, and roughing values and so forth. So make sure you're counting tricks when you determine whether you want to explore a game after your partner preempts. Okay, now there is a conventional way of exploring this after, to ask your partner, well, how good is your preempt? After week 2, the standard is asking for a feature. So, and that's initiated by bidding 2 no trump. And what it's asking your partner is if they happen to show you an ace or a king or a single point. There's another kind of convention called a boost, which is a little bit more sophisticated. We'll leave that for another day. Okay. Now, if your partner bids this 2 no trump is to ask for a feature. Okay, that's where you have a situation where you have support for your partner's preempted suit. If you've got your own suit, you can bid it. That's going to be 1 round forcing it again and ask your partner for a feature. Okay, and that way you can explore a game with a strong hand of your own suit after your partner bids. Okay, excuse me. Okay, if you do bid a new suit, then the preempter should show first or second round control up the line, showing control. Skipping a suit denies control in that suit. The same is true at the 3 level. All right, so that's basically how the partner of the preempter responds after the preempter. Let's look at a couple of examples. Okay, in this first example, it's not vulnerable, so you've got favorable vulnerability against vulnerable. Your partner opens up 2 spades. So you say, oh, my partner is opening a weak 2. He's got probably 6+ spades and between 5 and 11 points, and the opponent doubles. Okay, so what the opponent's saying is, says, okay, partner, I probably have shortness in spades, and I've got at least 12+ points, and maybe in the range of up to a minimum of 15. It does guarantee a minimum of 12. Okay, so you're sitting there and you've got 3 whole points, but you've got 4 spades. So what you know is that between you and your partner, you have 10 spades. That means, and you've got shortness in hearts. The probability that the opponents have a nice fit in hearts is very high. All right, so you've got a fit in spades and you're very weak. Well, what do you want to do? Okay, what you're going to want to do in this situation is 4 spades. You're very weak, you've got a fit. The opponents have probably gotten in the neighborhood of 30+ points. So what you want to do is push the preempt. You want to get in their face. You want to make them guess. Okay, and that way you maximize the amount you're obstructing the opponents in their ability to find out where the proper contract should be. Let's look at example number 2. In this one, you have unfavorable vulnerability. You're vulnerable and the opponents are not vulnerable, so you're exposed to a little bit more risk here. So your partner opens 2 spades. Now, by your partner opening 2 spades when you're vulnerable, if you use 2, 3, 4 and reverse the calculation, your partner is promising you 6 tricks or 2 losers because the B factor is equal to 2. Okay, so for you to be able to explore a game, you need to be able to deliver 4 tricks. So let's take a look at this. You've got an ace, that's 1. You've got an ace here, that's 2. The ace queen gives you 2.5. The king jack probably gets you within 4 spades, gets you up into the 4 range. So you probably have a really good shot at game opposite the 2 spade bid. So what should you do? You've got the needed number of tricks. Bid 2 no trump, ask your partner for a feature. Okay, if they come back and bid 3 spades, they're going to think, I don't have one, in which case you're going to want to pass. If they come back and say, hey, I've got a feature of clubs or diamonds or hearts, now that's probably enough for you to make the decision to go ahead and bid 4 spades after your partner has preempted. Let's look at this situation here. Now, this is kind of an extreme situation in another, down another path. Your partner opens 3 spades. Whoa, your partner has indicated vulnerable against the vulnerable and saying, hey, I've got 6 winners. Okay, they could all be in spades. Okay, now let's look at your hand. Okay, remember, the probability is that you having a distributional hand or your opponent's having a distributional hand goes way up when somebody else at the table has a distributional hand. So you've got a really nice hand. You've got 2, 4, 6, you've got 8 clubs, 3 diamonds, 2 hearts, nothing in your partner's suit. Okay, so you've got only 1, 2, 3 losers. So in your hand, you can make, you're pretty well, you can make 4 all by yourself. The question is, can you make 5 clubs, or can you even go to 6? So let's take a look at this. Okay, you don't have a bid, but you do have a club, so you're going to bid 4 clubs. All right, now your partner, this is going to be 1 round forcing. You've already made the decision going to game. So you're going to ask your partner for control of the line. Okay, and that if your partner has a king of diamonds or the ace of hearts, ace king of hearts, he will show those suits. Otherwise, he will bid spades. He's got control in that suit, in which case you can sign off with 5 clubs. All right, that's enough about first and second seat. Let's look at the third seat preempts. Okay, now the big difference between third seat versus first and second seat is that in third seat, your partner has already passed. Okay, and because your partner's passed, and if you're considering the preempt, you know the game is generally not possible, probably 99% of the time. Okay, and you also know because both your partner and the first opponents have passed, and you have 5 to 11 points, that the fourth seat opponent has a big hand. So in third seat, you're going to want to obstruct, maximize the amount you obstruct fourth seat opponent. Okay, now, again, if you can meet the rule of 22, don't preempt. Don't worry about what the opponent's going to do. Bid your hand based upon what you have. Be honest and show your partner the correct values you have. Open at the 1 level. Remember, your partner can have up to 11 points and wasn't able to open. So if you've got a real open at the 1 level in third seat. That way, you'll be able to explore game if your partner has points on the high end. In reality, opening at the 1 level is actually more obstructive and threatening than opening a weak 2, because your partner, the opponent's going to say, hey, this guy opened at the 1 level, he's got 13 plus points, versus at the weak level, he's only got 5 to 11, he's got length in that particular suit. They can infer things about what their partner has or does not have. Okay, now, if you do make the decision to preempt in third seat, you want to maximize the level that you're going to preempt at. With a 6+ card suit, you're going to preempt at the 2 or 3 level. You're going to do the 4+ level with 7+ card. Again, you can hedge your bets if it's in spades, but okay, make sure that you think about that, because especially if they're vulnerable and you're not vulnerable, consider pushing it preempt to the maximum level. Okay, now your partner is, because it already passed, is only going to have 2 choices in terms of what they bid for the second time. They can push it preempt or they can pass. That's it. Okay, that's all they can do. Now, I mean, there is a third alternative where if they can actually double for penalties if the opponents bid. But if the opponents haven't bid, or even if they have bid, really the only 2 choices of double or pass or pushing the preempt. Okay, let's look at a couple of examples here. In this one, this hand in the third seat, both your partner and the opponent have passed. And if both are not vulnerable. So our B factor is going to be equal to 3. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losers. So this hand, it says it's safe we can bid to the 4 level. Okay. Now, right away, we recognize, because we only have a 6-card suit here, that we only want to preempt at the 2 or the 3 level. Okay, can we meet the rule of 22? No, we have 4. We only have 1.5 quick tricks. So and we've got 4, 8, 10, 11 points. If our partner couldn't open, it's highly improbable that we're going to be able to make a game. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to maximize our preempt. So with 6 cards, we could preempt with a weak 2, or we could bid 3 hearts. We're going to push this to 3 hearts. We're not strong enough to open. Okay, so let's look at example number 2. Okay, example number 2, we've got unfavorable vulnerability. So we calculate our 2, 3, 4 and come up with a result of 2. Okay, so this is the right value for opening a weak 2. So let's see, can we meet the rule of 22? No, we don't. We only have 1.5 quick tricks. And if we take our 2 long suits, that's 10 plus 6 is 16, not anywhere near. So what we're actually going to do is bid a weak 2 here. So you can see these are basically the same hands, but the difference is vulnerability. So in this one, we're going to open a weak 2. In this one, we're going to open 3 hearts. Let's look at one more example here. Okay. Now, both our partner and the opponents have passed. Okay, now we evaluate this. It says we can open at the 4 level. All right, so we've got shortness in diamonds, we've got shortness in clubs, in spades, but we do have 10 points. Now, our partner, though, has passed, so we really don't have to worry about, and even though we have 3 hearts, we're really not going to have to worry about finding a 5-3 heart bid, because we're just not going to be able to compete and go against the opponents. We don't have enough points between us to be able to bid higher. Can we meet 2, 3, 4? No. What we're going to do here is we're going to bid 4 clubs. That's the maximum level. And what we want to do is obstruct, to the maximum degree possible, the ability of the opponents to bid. Okay, so they can either bid 4 diamonds, 4 hearts, or 4 spades, but they'd have to, in essence, bid at 4 level. Now, to do that in a standalone manner, they're going to have to be able to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 plus, probably even more. So it's even if they have game in one of these suits, it's going to be very difficult for them to find it. So this bid 4 clubs really serves the purpose of obstructing the opponents. Okay. Okay, in this particular, let's see what the partner of the preemptor should do after their partner preempts the 3rd seat. In this one, the overcall of the opener bids 2 hearts, bids a weak 2. Okay. And you're sitting there as the advancer, you've got this ugly looking hand. You've got 4 clubs, 4 diamonds, 4 hearts, and a singleton spade. What do you know? You know your partner's got 5 to 11 points. Okay. And you've got 0. So you know that the opponents have somewhere between 35 and 30 to 35 points. So you know they have a probable slam. Okay, so you've got to fit with a very weak hand, opposite. The opponents probably have a probable slam. What you're going to do is you're going to maximize and push the preempt as far as possible. Okay, you can bid all the way to 5 hearts. Bid 5 hearts. Okay, now the opponents are going to have to make the decision to double or to bid 5 spades. Now you really cut off the ability to communicate and explore slam because they don't have that tool in their toolbox. So even if they've got 6 spades and they bid 5 spades and they make 6 or 7, your preempt had pushing the preempt had a great result. If they double you and you go down 5, they're vulnerable. You're not vulnerable. It's going to be 1, 3, 5, 8, 11. They're only going to get 1,100 points versus 1,430 points for making 6 spades. So this is almost a no-lose situation. Very, very weak. Push the preempt to the maximum degree possible. Let's look at this example here. Okay, your partner bid 2 hearts, preempted 2 hearts. The opponent's double. You've got shortness in hearts and you've got values in the other suits. Hey, you've got a great defensive hand. Pass. They're going to have to bid in the dark, and it's very likely they're going to end up 3 or 4 spades, or even possibly 1 of 5 of one of the minors. Not very probable they're going to end up in 3 no trump. So you've got a great defensive hand, and it has a really good possibility of setting them whatever the final contract is going to be. Let's look at number 3 here. Here you've got favorable vulnerability again, and your partner has bid 3 diamonds. Okay, now and the bidding has been pass, 3 diamonds, pass. All right, what do you know? Okay, well, you know that you have a bid in the diamond suit. There's no reason to bid. They have in essence passed the first opponent. Both opponents have passed, so you can assume that points are going to be evenly divided between the hands, and neither one of them are strong enough to bid at the 3 level. So the odds are that probably 95% probability the final contract is going to be 3 diamonds. You're elated at that. Okay, and if the opponents accidentally enter the bidding and find a bid in 4 hearts or 4 spades, okay, you can always come back and sacrifice it 5 diamonds later. Okay, let's look at the 4th. Now, in the 4th seat, the only preempt that you're going to consider is a weak 2. Okay, and here are the situations where you do not want to make a preemptive bid in the 4th seat. Well, if you can open 1 spade and you're meeting the rule of 15, you want to open 1 spade. If you can open 1, if you can meet the rule of 22 and the rule of 15, you can open 1 heart, 1 diamond, 1 club. Don't preempt. Okay. So these are the situations where you're going to open. You're too strong to preempt, and you don't want to preempt yourself. The purpose of the 4th seat week 2 is to control the auction. Okay. Remember, if you pass in the 4th seat, the auction is over. So you pass. All right, everybody gets 0 points. The only time that you want to preempt in the 4th seat by bidding 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, or 2 spades is when you've got a strong enough hand and no possibility you're going to gain. Okay, this keeps the opponents from entering the auction when you determine there's no possibility for you. So you only want to do this if the 2-3 level is greater than or equal to 2, and you're too weak to actually open the 1 level as I previously described. Let's look at a couple of examples. In this one, we've got not vulnerable versus not vulnerable. Okay, let's look at what the 2, 3, 4 result is. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losers. So we've got 7 licenses. We can open all the way at the 4 level. Okay, that's a pretty strong hand. Now let's look at the rule of 15. Can we meet the rule of 15? We've got 4, 7, 9, 10 plus 1. We only got 11, so we can't meet the rule of 15. What's the challenge here? Is the opponents have probable control of the spade suit. We have open one heart. The opponents will probably overcall one spade, okay, allowing them to find a spade suit and then entering the auction. Can we meet the rule of 22? Doesn't matter. We can't meet that. Now, if we want to bid in this hand, which is still kind of a coin toss, we would actually open this hand and preempt weak 2 by bidding 2 hearts. Let's look at this hand. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losers. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6, 7, 8 losers. So we take 7 minus 8 plus 2 because we've got unfavorable vulnerability, and we end up with the 1 level. Okay, we're too weak to open at the 1 level, and we're too weak to make a preemptive bid. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass. We're going to pass this hand out. Okay, don't get seduced in this hand by going ahead and bidding 2 hearts. Just not strong enough, given the vulnerability, exposes you to too much risk. Let's look at this example. Okay, we're vulnerable against vulnerable, so the B factor is going to be equal to 3. Now, let's look at 2, 3, 4. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loose. We're going to count that queen 9 as 2 losers. So that's 6. We can open at the 2 level. Okay. Does it meet the rule of 15? Okay, we've got 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12 high card points plus 4. So we do meet the rule of 16. Okay. Does it meet the rule of 22? Well, we only have 1.5 quick tricks, so it doesn't meet the rule of 22. Okay, now if it does meet the other half of it, where we have 12 plus 10 is 22, but we don't have the 2 quick tricks. So what we're going to do is pass. Okay, where it's a coin toss in terms of whether the probability of whether we can get a positive score or not, we should pass. So in this situation, we're going to pass. This gives you a couple of examples of where we can preempt and where we should pass. Let's look at number 4. Okay, in this particular example, we can calculate the 2, 3, 4. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losers. The 2, 3, 4 result says we can actually bid to the 5 level. Does it meet the rule of 15? Well, we've got 4, 8, 10. We've got 14 plus 1 plus that equals 15. Yes. Does it meet the rule of 22? Yeah, we've got 3.5 quick tricks here. And when put it together, we've got 10 plus 14. So it's a definite yes. What should we do with this hand? We should open this hand 1 heart. Much too strong to preempt. Now, if our partner has just, let's say, the king of hearts and the queen of clubs, 5 points, we can make game. So we do not want to preempt our partner from the possibility of showing they've got a fit or have positive values. Because remember, after we open a major and 3rd or 4th seat, our partner can use drury to indicate they've got 10 plus points. Let's look at example number 5. In this one, we've got a nice spade suit. Let's look at the 2, 3, 4 value. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 losers. So we've got unfavorability. Even though we've got a nice spade suit here, we're too weak. We don't have enough cards to preempt 2 spades, and we're not strong enough to open. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass. All right. One final thing to note about preempts, and especially weak 2s, is there are 4 ACBO convention cards related to different levels of competition, and they restrict. They are restricted in the range defined where you can use a weak 2 only for 1st and 2nd seat. And the size of the range increases on the level of competition. So this is the basic chart. I'm putting this here just so you're aware that this is part of the rules if you're playing in tournament play. Okay, is that the range? There's 4 charts: the basic plus, the open plus. I'm not, these govern what conventions you're allowed to use at tournaments at what level of play. So in the first and second seed, the basic chart, you can have a range of 7 points. And what I recommend is 5 to 11. In the basic plus, that range increases, so I would recommend 4 to 11. In the open and the open plus, the range is defined as 9, which we define that as 3 to 11. So what this says is that the more experience you get, the more that you may want to make a preemptive bid or a week 2 with fewer points. Now, another thing to be aware of is that the restriction for the week 2 range applies only to the first and second seed. It does not apply to the third or fourth seed. There is, you can preempt or make bid a week 2 in third seed with 0 points or 20 points. It doesn't matter. It does make but you're only going to do with the parameters that you agree on. Okay, generally in third seed, you're going to make a week 2 with 0 to around 14 points. Okay, and why 14? Well, your partner didn't open. They've got only 10 or 11 points. The probability you have enough points per game is very small. So what we're recommending is that actually you open in third seed with the stronger hand. All right, so that's just to point out. And in fourth seed, there's also no range, and you only use these in third and fourth seed when there's no possibility for you. All right, well, that concludes the introductory lesson on preempts. This is where you can contact us. Okay, and I hope you have a great day.